A little bit about Atlas. I started it 5 years ago with $500, just enough to open up the bank account.
And where in the journey did you start integrating these companies?
So I
Tell me more about that relationship.
everybody that partners up with me in a business has an equity position.
What's the slice of the pie? What does it look like?
So
Tell me more about like how you found really good operators.
I knew I can trust them before I hired them.
What have been some of your most expensive lessons that you've had to learn?
We need to
How have you managed to reduce the hours?
making sure that
What are the biggest profit peaks that you sort of see?
we have
Joined here by Rudy. Tell us more, dude. Like business that you run, role that you sit within the company, and what kind of work you do.
a little bit about Rudy. I've always kind of been in the construction business, construction industry. Started off as a superintendent, worked my way up to be a project manager. I was one of the youngest project managers in the company that I used to work for. And then I became the youngest VP of construction as well for a major luxury custom home business, right? Mm, I am 35 years old now. I have about 16 to 18 years of experience. Been doing this since I was 18. A little bit about Atlas. I started it 5 years ago with $500, just enough to open up the bank account. And I ended up going literally door knocking on about 50 realtors' doors. Two of them took me serious. One of them had a client. I promised that client to build him the best house I possibly could in the fastest and most cost efficient way possible. And we ended up building a 6,000 square foot home in about 6 months for about $1 million. Did not know it at the time. Those clients were crowdfunders. They like to call themselves investors, but they are actually crowdfunders from Mexico City, Dubai, and Spain. We ended up signing a 10 house contract with them, and we ended up completing 10 houses for them in a little bit under 2 years. I would say 2.5 years. Everything else has kind of grown organically. Atlas has been around since 2020, 2021. We won Best Builder of the Year 3 years in a row. And now we're we're in the process of kind of growing. We're a luxury custom home builder. We specialize in bespoke items that kind of are different than the norm, and we play the game completely different than most custom home builders.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of differentiates us is we're vertically integrated. So we own some of the means of production, kind of like the framing company, the fence company, the cabinet company, the garage door company, all of which are integrated into Atlas. It benefits the client tremendously because we're able to cut down on construction time and we're able to cut down on cost.
Mm, so good. It's what some of the members that do like prefab and transportable homes do. They almost own like a bunch from design, manufacture, transportation, install, and maintenance afterwards as well. You didn't start doing it all. When did you, and where in the journey did you start integrating these companies? Did you build them or did you buy them?
So organically built both all of them, right? The construction, the framing, residential framing construction company kind of started with Atlas, and it was one of the hiccups that I learned along the way, right? It was framing was one of the items at the time during COVID where material, the supply chain
Oh,
was kind of
yeah.
lagging, and so was the manpower, right? And so there was not enough workforce out there because during COVID, that's just kind of how it happened. So I organically kind of started that one alongside Atlas. And then the other companies came along as opportunities presented themselves, right? The most recent one is the garage door company. It's Elevate Garage Doors. And that happened when I hired a construction project manager that came from the garage door space. And what ended up happening there is organically kind of reviewing the proposals of garage stores that we were getting. And he's like, hey, I can save you about 40-50% here on this cost. What, like, and I'm like, there's no way. And I'm like, show me, prove it to me. And if you can, then we'll start a garage store company. Sure enough, he had the direct suppliers and the direct vendors. So now it's a B2C relationship instead of a B2B relationship
Mhm.
in which we're able to cut down on time and we're able to cut down on costs.
So good. To get into the real meat and potatoes pretty quickly, like tell me more about that relationship with, did you say your project manager?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And does he have an equity position? Have you gone into business with him? Like, sort of like that?
That's correct. So everybody that kind of partners up with me in a business has an equity position. It's usually a 50-50 split. I
Mhm.
want to make sure it's equitable for everybody. I want to make sure that the decision making is on the same level and the same par as it would be if it was just any entity operating on its own. It is an entity operating on its own at the end of the day because we're able to provide garage doors for other custom home builders as well, other builders in the area, right? And so the benefit, the risk reward is kind of mitigated because we have guaranteed jobs through Atlas, right? But the benefit is kind of a little bit more expansive because if we start reaching out to other builders here in town, we're able to maximize and optimize that equity.
So good. So I have a bit of a question around the makeup of exactly that. How much of your business for framing and elevate garage doors and stuff is made up by Atlas versus, potentially your competitors in some regard? Like, what's the slice of the pie? What does it look like?
So Atlas is always primary, right? And so the majority of my time is actually spent running Atlas itself. Luckily, I have a great team, underneath me. I've strategically placed great friends or people that have become great friends in management roles that I can wholeheartedly trust. As far as the other entities and the other businesses go, right? The fencing company, again, my business partner there is also my dirt guy. He's the one that does my site work for all of my Atlas projects. I do not own that business, but there's ebbs and flows in construction, right? So while he might not be so busy, with lot clearing or lot prepping, we can focus on fencing,
Mm.
Texas Star Fence. And then we start using that manpower and that machinery that's already in place to go ahead and install fences. And our lag time and our lull time is literally cut in half.
So good. Just want to make sure, at the risk of oversimplifying stuff, we got Atlas at the top, and that's
Correct.
you 100%.
Correct.
And then we've got Texas stuff,
Texas Star
fencing.
Fence, Rocky Creek Construction, Elevate Garage Doors, and Atlas Custom Cabinets.
Love it so much. So we've had members in the past that have got one business working well and then started other companies with key team as well. I love that you're doing it with people that you trust. 50-50 split, very equitable. And then the work that they do is primarily like Atlas comes first, and then they can pick up other contracts as they go, sort of thing.
That is correct. And that's exactly how we've structured it as well,
Excellent.
right? So we make sure that we take care of quote unquote the parent company,
Mhm.
right? But we're not leaving opportunities, unchecked.
100%, totally. So tell me more about like because you've grown quickly. Like this overnight success 10 years in the making, right? Like you've been in the game for ages, but it feels like it's really taken off recently, last 2-3 years, sort of thing. Tell me more
Right.
about like how you found really good operators that you can trust. Like what's your vetting process? What's your kind of like training process? How do you know whether somebody's good or bad? Like have you had any scar tissue around that?
Yeah, I definitely have, right? And actually, it's crazy that you asked me that because currently, right now, I'm sitting in the VP of Sales house. He's my neighbor. You're asking me what my vetting process is. You're asking me what my training process is. I have it on well authority that I'm a horrible teacher, and that is correct, right? Because of the amount of time that I have to allocate to certain things, right? The vetting process is actually very simple. I have my operators, like you called them, you know, on a level of trust that they've earned, right? So, for instance, I have Eric right next to me here. I begged him almost for a year to come over and do sales for me. He was the general manager, or he was a manager for a car company. here locally in Austin, Texas.
Mhm.
And I kind of just said, hey, kept putting the bug in them. Like, hey, do you ever want to do home sales? There's quite a bit of money there. There's quite a bit of money there, and persistence is key. So the vetting process kind of was very organic because I knew I can trust them before I hired him,
For sure.
right? And that has happened quite like literally throughout the entire process as I've been running Atlas.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
head project manager, I actually knew him through a different custom home builder, right? And my framing company at the time was framing for that custom home builder, kind of optimizing that opportunity. And anytime I would stop by, he'd be the main guy saying, "Okay, what do you need? What do you?" I'm on it, right? And he was on his game, and the opportunity arose where that company is no longer around and no longer in business. And I ended up actually calling him the day that company ended up closing its doors. And I'm like, hey, what are you up to? I was going to offer him a job. I thought there was going to be some convincing there to be had, right? And he's like, well, he's like, the company just kind of shut down. And I was like, great, I'll see you Monday at 12 o'clock at this address. You have a job. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, 100%. And so it's been very, very organic. And, they say luck happens when preparation um,
Meets
and
opportunity.
opportunity meet.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where we've been very blessed.
I love that. So good. So, you mentioned before a couple of key people and things like it sounds like Eric's around. What would
He
he
is.
say is your biggest strength and your biggest area of opportunity to improve on?
Eric, what would you say? No pressure.
No, none at all. I mean, Rudy knows the construction business inside and out. I don't think I've seen a person more naturally gifted in walking into a space, seeing what's wrong, needs to be fixed, what needs to be done, and what needs to be like done next. And I think his ability to stack trades, to see a gap in the construction industry, i.e., vertically integrating these companies, that's not only going to build efficiency, it's going to save money for the clients. And that's huge. I mean, building a more quality house faster is the name of the game, and everyone's trying to figure out how to do it. And I think Rudy really has figured that out. As far as growth goes or opportunity for growth, I
Okay.
mean, this is gonna be advertising. Like opportunity for growth is he's been playing the I'm gonna follow up, cold call, chase people, word of mouth. And when you're really starting out, the word of mouth thing doesn't run like wildfire, especially in our demographic where we're building at. $2 million plus. There's not hundreds of thousands of people in this area that can do it. So it's been a definite task, but I do now have him on we're going to do some advertising. We're going to start spreading our name. And I mean, we're the hottest thing in Austin right now. And we're on pace to be the number one luxury custom home builder in Austin this year. And it's because of the people he's hired and his vision. So,
So good.
There you go.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you for that insight. Um, And that last thing that Eric just said is so damn true. Like we as business owners, it's our job to build a vision that's big enough to fit other people's visions within it so that other people can achieve their goals and ambitions inside of your vision. So if your vision is to be the, preeminent number one custom home builder in Austin, that's a big enough vision that can fit other people's stuff in. And we want to vertically integrate it and have a portfolio of companies that sit in this ecosystem. It's like now that vision is big enough that it can fit all these phenomenal leaders and problem solvers in there as well. And it's not just the Rudy show. It's like we're a sports team and we're able to like go and win the championship and set out towards a bigger goal together. So, that was very telling, that last sentence from Eric.
So you see, I have a great team.
Yeah, 100%. It's the it's the quote unquote secret to business, right? Like go far, go together, go quick, go alone. But you get
Yep.
really talented people in the same room together, like you guys are right now, and it's like it becomes a heck of a lot easier. Yeah.
1,000%.
So uh it's all going gangbusters. We're fantastic. Oh, onwards and upwards, happy days. But that's not always the case. There are expensive lessons learned through our time. Often our biggest winners are our biggest losers. Like the bigger the success, the bigger the scar tissue or the failure or the learning. What have been some of your most expensive lessons that you've had to learn in your career?
So one of the most expensive lessons actually is one that we're currently going through, right? We need to figure out a way internally, right, together as well, from going to contract signing to contract funding, right? We have the possibility of $75 million in revenue in projects that we have verbal commitments on. Some we even have preliminary construction contracts on, right? And it's quite a few developments that we're working on. What we're struggling right now currently with is how do we go from a verbal commit or a preliminary contract sign to actually breaking ground quickly instead of having a 6 month downtime on it,
Mhm.
right? Because we have right now one of the preliminary contracts that we have signed, the site is not ready, right? The lots have not been cut, utilities have not been installed and put in place. And these are items that we don't necessarily handle for that client. That client is actually a developer. And so it's items that should be handled prior. And so we're having a little bit of a, I guess, a learning and teaching moment with that area. Um, and it's, you know, it can be fun, it can be frustrating at the same time, right? The two F's.
Yeah, yeah. And quite often, like some of the solutions to that still come back to a who, not a how problem. So a lot of people get hung up on like the how, but what you've learned in growing your portfolio is like we want to find great who's, great people that can support us on our mission. And it's often the same sort of thing, whether it's a financing partner, a funding partner, or whatever we catalog that as. It's like who. We should be looking for the who, not necessarily the how, because when we find a good partner that can unlock stuff at scale, it's a heck of a lot easier, and they bring the how with them, preloaded solution sort of thing, batteries included. Got it. What about on like you know, what are some of the basics that need to be true? Like we're zooming out when we're looking at these, big business structures and big development and stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong on like a foundational ground level. Are there any things that you've noticed that are really like the profit zones when it comes to projects? Is it like, you know, the getting the contract right, or is it the overages or the change orders? Like, what are the biggest profit peaks or pits that you sort of see in jobs?
So the best way to kind of be able to guarantee a profit is making sure that you have the overall scope aligned,
Hmm.
right? A lot of the time, clients need to understand that the scope and what they want need to be detailed and clear because what what they relay, right, via their words isn't necessarily what is registering. And that's because they don't understand the lingo, they don't understand the language, they don't understand the entire process behind it, right? And so it's one of those things where it's our job and it's our responsibility to kind of break it down to its most primal level to make sure that the client understands and says, hey, I want this oversized vent hood and I saw it online for $5,000. Well, that's just a vent hood. You don't understand. I need you to understand the fact that that needs a makeup air unit behind it. And that's another 1,200 bucks. You also need the proper piping and venting for the ventilation to leave the vent hood behind it. And that's another $5,000, right? Also, per code in that area, you can only have this many CFMs inside of a house before it turns into a commercial type code project that's not going to be approved for a residential project. And so it's our responsibility as the home builder, as the GC, to make sure that we lay out the proper quote unquote pitfalls or actual like details to the client to make sure that they understand. So to say, hey, you know what, you might want this, but it's more of an aesthetic want, not necessarily a functional want. So if we're shooting for aesthetic, these are our options.
Mm.
Same aesthetic, that meet all the requirements.
So how do you actually conduct that conversation does it happen all pre-construction, or do you conducting that conversation throughout the entire build process as things start coming together and they change their mind on this, on that? And are you then doing administration fee on some change orders or extra consultation services? Like how does it come together in the real world?
So it's happening both ways, right? Pre-construction, we make sure that we try to cover all our bases. We're
Yeah.
far from perfect, and we're going to miss some things, just like they'll miss some things.
Yeah.
Also, it is happening during the phases of construction because, like any other custom home client, they might see it looks nice and pretty and shiny at the store or at the showroom, and then when it comes down to ordering it 3 or 4 months later, they're out of that phase and they don't like it and now they want something different,
Mhm.
right? And so those meetings are being held either weekly or bi-weekly with the client depending on where they're at. And so we're dealing with a high net worth type of client. So for instance, last week one of my clients was actually in Poland. He was actually in Eastern Europe. Well, they're 9 hours ahead, right? So just like me and you are having a meeting now at 9:30, I actually had a meeting with that client at midnight because it was 9 a.m. their time,
Yeah.
right? And so from midnight to about 1:30, we're sitting here video calling each other, and I'm kind of going through the steps in the process because there were some adjustments and changes that they wanted, and we needed to make sure that they knew the pros and cons of what it is that they were requesting.
Mm. Got it. So good. And then are you using like what's your software and communication stack look like? Like are you using I think it's Builder Trend?
We use Builder Trend.
Mhm.
Builder Trend has been a great partner for us, and they do just about everything that we need,
Mhm.
down to the takeoff software that they have, right? We make sure that we're as transparent as no other builder in the area or in the entire state is, down to everything is filed off in a Google Drive folder for them.
Mhm.
So not only that, we're not just throwing files in there, we're breaking it down by line items, right?
Mm.
We're breaking it down by the actual trades. It's like, okay, your electrical proposal is here, your electrical trim proposal is here,
Mm.
right? Your foundation is here, your flat work is here. And so when they get a folder shared with them, all they see is just one folder. Then you open up that folder and it has 50 other folders inside of it with all of their selections down to their cut sheets.
Yeah. And who is running that on a day-to-day basis? Have you got like project
So
who's responsible for that piece?
So my project managers are responsible for that. I make sure that we have at least one project manager per project.
Mhm.
It used to be that one project manager could run 2 or 3 projects because our projects went from being 1 million to $1.5 million projects now to 3 million to $12 million projects.
Mm.
You can't have one project manager run 2 or 3 $3 million projects. He's just not going to have the attention span, and you're going to end up burning that person out.
Yeah, for sure. So you have project managers that run typically one project at a time. Then what does the look like the structure be below that and above that look like?
So the structure above that is actually very simple, right? We have my VP of sales here
Mhm.
that does a lot of the communicating both with the field and the client. We also have, the head project manager who does a lot of the construction side of things, right? And then finally, you have myself
Mhm.
that I end up kind of being the final word, final say of things, right? How we kind of run things is what I would like to say a very democratic kind of way, right? Because the problems, I always tell my project managers that problems are easy. And the reason I say that is because they come in and they slap you in the face and they make themselves known very quickly, right? What are we going to do about those problems? Right. And so your job and what I expect out of my project managers is to make sure that the job is running efficiently, make sure that it's running effectively, right? And make sure if there's a problem or an issue, you give me 3 options. What's the fastest? What's the best way? What does the trade say? Right? And so if you're able to give me those 3 options, we're able to make an informed decision together as a team. Or I can say, hey, you know what? Those 3 options, I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. This is what we're going to do.
Mm.
Right. And so at the end of the day, it's a two-way street with my project managers. It's not, here's the order, you follow it, be a good soldier and follow it. It's, hey, you know what? You're there on the day to day. I'm kind of overseeing a lot of things as well and just kind of getting the bird's eye view of things. And it's a two-way street. They can tell me yes, they can tell me no. I always make sure that I always tell them, even if when you tell me no, you better make sure, double check and triple check that you're correct.
Yeah. I love that. That's a really great evolution of 131 or PSR into what is the trade? What were the three again? What does the trade say?
What does the trade say? What's the fastest option and what's the best option?
Love it. So good. And why are you going, why choose those three? So like, are you going fastest because you're dealing with luxury end of the market? So you're not really interested in cheapest?
I'm not interested in cheapest because the cheapest option could be one of those three. It can fall in one of those three categories, right? But I'm not interested in cheapest because we have to, at the end of the day, stand and have our name behind our product,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
And so, what does the trade say is explained very simply. At the end of the day, the way our contracts are based and the way that just our the entire general contractor industry works is the trade is the one that's responsible. He's the industry expert, right? We rely on our trades. My guys are not out there running conduit and running wires through a house. So if my electrician says, this is how I believe we should do it, let's analyze it, right? What's the fastest way? Okay, well, maybe we can just drill through that engineered beam and go straight across. Well, that might be the fastest way, but well, why are we drilling through engineered beams, right? And then what's the best way? Okay, the best way is we need to reroute this going around a certain element of the project. It might take a little bit longer, it might cost a little bit more, it might be the only route we have,
Mm.
right? And so it's one of those things where, in order to be able to make an informed decision, you kind of have to look at the issue through multiple lenses and through different points of view.
And how often are you letting your team make those decisions and maybe fail versus course correcting them and being like, dude, that's the wrong recommendation here. I think we should do this instead.
That is kind of tricky to answer because it's kind of like Eric said. Sometimes I'm walking through a project and I might be looking at my phone, shooting off an email or shooting off a text message addressing something else, but I'm still looking around and seeing that. And I'm like, there's been times where I'm walking through a house and I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, hey, that's wrong right there. That corner, it's a quarter inch off. And they're like, no, it's not. And then we go and take a tape measure. And sure enough, it's like 3/8 of an inch off. So a little bit over a quarter, but it's
Yeah.
like it catches your eye, right? And
That's
so,
Spider-Man sensors. I love it.
right, well, it's one of those things that when you've kind of walked through and done it for so long, it kind of becomes kind of second nature, right? But what we're getting away from and what we're not doing is making sure that there's an issue and
Mhm.
then Rudy decides what the solution is. It's
Yeah.
like, no, let me hear what you think it is, and then we can make an informed decision together. Or you can tell me, hey, Rudy, this is what I'm going to do. This is why.
Yeah. Fantastic. I want to unpack and understand how you manage your time and how you manage your energy. Because for most people listening to this, they're probably going to think, holy fucking shit. Like Rudy's a savage. How does he do it? And like maybe you're in a stage in a chapter of your life where you just push, 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 go, go, go. And that's fantastic. But like you got you still got a number of hours of the day and you still got to rest and recharge so that you can show up as your best you. So like how do you manage your week? How do you manage your day? How do you manage your hours? How do you manage your energy?
So actually, this is one of the things that Eric might be able to chime in on also. I rarely take vacations. I rarely take time off. Even when I am having some time off, I kind of get a little bit anxious, have a little bit of I have a little bit of anxiety because I'm always kind of on, right? As far as how I manage my day now currently is being kind of managed through meetings.
Mhm.
It's my job now to try to secure and acquire, and me and Eric are doing a really good job kind of being the yin to the yang, right? He is very good at sales and knows how to handle and deal with people very well. And like he said, I'm very good at the construction side of things. So when you kind of put us together, we're able to kind of nail down these clients and pin them down a little bit more, right? How I manage, and schedule things. I mean, part of the reason why I joined TPB, right? To kind of get a little bit more hours back. And I have been doing that strategically. There was a point in time where I was working, maybe 80 hours a week plus. Now I'm kind of down closer to 40, which is extremely good. I don't think I'll ever get down to, like 20 or, 25. I don't think I'll get there, at least not yet, right? Because we're not there yet, right? If that makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So once we get there, wherever there might be, right? That's kind of going to make itself well known and obvious, and we'll be able to analyze that and see what that looks like then.
Nice. So, how have you managed to reduce the hours? Like, what's been kind of the big thing? Is half of it mindset and the other half like practical exercise, like of the stop doing list or default calendar or your professional builders? Like, what? Like, tell me more. Like, what
So
do
the
you?
stop doing list actually helped out tremendously because I kind of caught myself taking on a lot of the scope that my project managers could handle, right? As far as how I was able to reduce the hours is again by hiring the strategic people that I have hired, right? Making sure that their roles are kind of maybe not as clear as they should be currently, but clearer in a role as to what they can kind of take off my plate and what I can kind of put on theirs
Hmm,
so that they're handling that, right? And so it's been kind of a combination of multiple factors that have reduced those hours spent on a weekly basis.
love it. I want to understand what success looks like to you. So, tell me more about, your business maturity date or your 3 to 5 year target, what success looks like from a personal and professional standpoint.
Success is, I guess, multifaceted, at least in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have a money goal. At the end of the day, I always say when it comes to money, as long as I'm able to wake up, if I don't feel like working and my bills are still paid and I don't have to worry about where my next meal is going to come from, then I'm successful in that aspect of things. As a matter of fact, with Eric, he's the VP of sales. His commissions are uncapped. If
Nice.
he brings me, 100 houses and I have to pay him $1 million worth of commission, that's what it is,
Hmm.
right? And so there isn't a cap basis there for me, right? As far as like my 5 year plan, my first 5 years, which is this is year number, yeah, we're going into year number five now. Currently, we executed the 5 year plan in 2.5 years. And so what that meant was kind of establishing ourselves, making sure that we proved the concept, making sure that we were able to grow the team, right? And as an entrepreneur, there are two glass ceilings that you have to kind of break through. And we broke the first glass ceiling actually after year number one, a little bit, I think I want to say like 14 months in. And those ceilings are the $1 million mark, right?
Hmm.
Revenue and profit, gross profit, right? That's not necessarily, I don't mean that as in $1 million in my pocket. I'm saying $1 million
No.
revenue profit for Atlas.
Yeah.
And so we broke that in about 12 to 14 months. And then the next goal and the next break is going to be the $10 million mark, right? And once you kind of break that $10 million glass ceiling, you're you're kind of fail-proof to a certain extent, right? And I say that because unless something extremely detrimental happens, by that point, you have delegated enough because in order to break the $10 million ceiling, you have to delegate, right? You have to depend on your team in order to kind of uplift you to be able to break that ceiling. And so you have delegated enough to where the processes, the SOPs are in place and make sure that your team is established as well as your clientele and your product, right? And so it's one of those things where we're in the process of doing that.
Hmm.
And Eric's been with me now 3 months, maybe 4 months. And like I said, we have a potential of a revenue of 75 million with 20 to 30% gross margin. And that would break that $10 million ceiling.
Yep, sure. Yeah, quite comfortably, I'd say.
Yeah.
But you're bang on. So like it is easier in many regards to run a bigger business than a smaller one because with a bigger business, you have exactly what you're talking about. You've got more sales, and sales solve a lot of problems because they provide you with cash flow. Once you have cash flow, you have a lot of oxygen, and a lot of oxygen can fund people, process, and leave you left over with profit when managed correctly. So,
A
like,
lot of oxygen can also feed fires.
yes, it can, 100%. And that's why you need to recruit really talented people, trust but verify. So when you install great people, we want to trust them to go and do the job, but we want to verify that they're doing it as well. And that's almost like a full circle moment. Right back at the very beginning of the conversation, you said that these leaders that you've installed have earned the trust and have earned the responsibility. And now, like you were saying, like your week looks like a lot of meetings. And I imagine in many of those meetings, you are verifying the trust. It is over to them, but you're there to make sure that nothing goes totally off track. You're still doing site walkthroughs and you're spotting stuff because that's your zone of genius, you know, and you're verifying that things are still getting done. And that's ultimately the job of like the owner. Hold high standards, make sure there's the right people in the right seats, that we are profitable, there's cash in the bank, and that we are verifying the trust in the company through the
That's
standard.
correct.
Yeah. Really well done. Love it. So, no man's an island. We've already spoken about your leaders, but who else do you feel like you want to, thank or, give the flowers to for some of the momentum and success that you've built over the last couple of years?
Honestly, our realtor partners and our clients, and they're many to name, so I won't list them out one by one, just for the fear of leaving any of them out. But whether our clients have been very appreciative, they have been very grateful. We have done quite a bit of work and taken on projects that no other builder would have taken on here, and actually about a year and a half ago. That kind of started giving us that momentum, and I guess that good vibe, good energy type of feel to the company and our realtor partners, because now we have realtor partners, reaching out to us, wanting to work with us. And I've made it very clear to them that it's a two-way street as well with them, right? Because a lot of realtors, they'll reach out wanting the listing or wanting the project, and they'll pitch themselves as to why they should be the agent to sell this project or to move this house, right? And that's a very basic, level action,
Got
right? And so what I mean by it's a two-way street with our realtor partners, it's like, okay, you want a listing or you want this project or you want to take on this project to move it. We need to make sure that we're able to work together and it's a win-win for both of us, right? Because if you get awarded this project, it's a win for you. And once you sell it, it's going to be a commission for you. Well, where's my next project coming from? Right? Can you bring me either a custom home client or something that, you then can go ahead and list again, right? And so we need to make sure that the snowball turns and grows as it does turn, right? As opposed to just saying, okay, well, I want this listing. Good. You and five others,
it.
right?
Yeah, it's the same with like when builders work with architects, and it's a one-way street sometimes there. When realistically it needs to be a three people at the party: the designer or the architect, the builder, and the client, because you can't have the thing built to timeline or budget or quality standard without the builder. But if the architect is just drawing some pretty pictures for the client, then the whole thing's out of scope. You know,
Architects are artists, right? That's why engineers exist.
there you go, exactly. Excellent. Rudy, you've been so generous with your time. Thanks for unpacking where the business is at, where it's going, some of the opportunities that you've got, challenges that you've had. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you think is a worthwhile conversation for professional builders that are looking to grow and scale and systemize their companies?
The one thing that I would say is to make sure you know your market, make sure you know your team, and make sure that you organize accordingly, right? And so those are very critical things to do because at the end of the day, it's a lot easier to move a project or sell a project if you're trying to build a $5 million home in a $1 million neighborhood. It's never going to work,
Mm,
right? And you got to be cognizant of that. And so when it comes to clients, you want to make sure that you have a fiduciary duty as a lawyer would, right, to your client. You want to make sure you know your team because again, you want to be able to grow and maintain that. And you want to know you know the market because you have to be informed. You have to know exactly what areas, what pocket of certain cities or towns, right, are the areas worth investing in, investing both your time and your equity,
mm.
right, as well as for your client, right? And so that is, I would say, the three things that I would leave you guys with.
Very good. We're gonna have to do a follow-up in like 6 to 12 months to see where this rocket ship's heading. I love it.
All
Rudy,
right.
thank you so much, man. You enjoy your evening with Eric. What are you guys working on at 9:30 on a Tuesday night?
Right now, we have a project in California that I have to kind of review because we're going to pour the foundation out there. We have a couple updates that I need to send out to a client. He's out in Europe right now as well, believe it or not. So that's kind of crazy. For a current project that we have in process during construction right now, and then I have a couple invoices that I just need to confirm.
Yeah. Nice. You're a busy man. I love it. I love it a lot. Absolute savage. Well done. Congratulations. Here's to your success. Here's to many, many more projects and years of success for you as well. Thank you very much again, and talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Owen. You have a good one.
Nice.